got a nice little shout out as well, Steve. For one person in particular.
So at Bruce Wayne 5150. So not the actual Bruce Wayne or anything like that, but he thanked us, didn't he? Because when we mentioned it on Twitter about the sort of what the theme was going to be for this podcast, it actually inspired him to get writing again.
Nice.
So he's sent us a link as well. So it was wedgeblog7.blogspot.co.uk. Again, it's titled "What Batman Means to Me."
Brilliant.
It's just great that we're sort of even our podcast is inspiring people to sort of get back into it.
Oh no, it was great, and we've all read the article, and Wedge got in touch with you as well. We're going to share your post on our blog as well because it's a great article, and I just loved stuff, man. If you got a story about Batman, obviously we've already had discussions with you in the messages and stuff. Some of them will be shouting out here, but we just love talking about it, guys. At Twitter, Team Cape and Cowl. That's the best place to get us, man. Seriously, do it. Do not hesitate. Do it right now. Never look back. But honestly, guys, Batman's just such a broad subject, and as we go through the movies, the TV, the comic books, we'll be covering all aspects of this character. So hopefully by the end of it, we may even discover what it is that, because I find it hard, and I know our good friend Jim Bob as well, been talking a lot about Batman. Love that guy. He's found it hard to sort of distill into the 140 character sort of limit that you have on Twitter. How can I explain what Batman means to me? But I know that guy in particular, massive Batman fan, so give a shout out to that chap as well. In terms of comics, we've got to start at the beginning, guys. Bob Kane, 1930s, had an idea, and we now have Batman.
Pretty much.
those are the cliff notes, basically, on that. But, it's interesting. We have to give a shout out to Bill Finger as well. I don't know if a lot of the younger Bat fans might be aware of this, but Bill Finger actually came up with a lot of what you know and love about the Batman character to this day. Things like the Batmobile, Jim Gordon, the alter ego, the Batcave, the actual Bat design of the suit.
Well, hasn't he only recently been given credit for it as well? Because it was always just Bob Kane, but now Bill Finger's started being credited.
Yeah, there's a book out as well. If you guys just sort of Google Bill Finger, a whole bunch of links are going to come up, and you're going to be put in the right sort of direction. Unfortunately, not credited within his lifetime for sort of creating Batman, but I think it was either Gotham episode or Batman vs Superman, where he was actually credited for the first time as co-creating Batman. But what with loopholes and the way DC are very protective over the Schuster family and Slagle family for the Superman rights, we know that's an ongoing legal battle. And for sort of, you can imagine DC Comics how they are today. That board, they don't really want to entertain these kind of discussions for things that happened 70 years ago. It's kind of crazy. So I can understand in that respect. But credit where it's due in terms of who came up with that. It was joint effort, and perhaps more so Bill Finger. But, Bob Kane obviously had the initial brainwave. So you have to give credit to that as well. Yeah. And he enjoyed the benefits. But yeah, I wanted to just give a shout out that one. Batman Comics, man. It's where it started. It's all people had for a long time growing up. 1930s Batman. Mercenary dude, just like purple gloves, shooting people, very much a grim avenger of the night.
He had a gun.
Brilliant. He had a gun, yeah. So we all know about that.
And nice red car as well.
Yep, red car, yep, brilliant. First Batmobile. And the 1940s serials as well and stuff like that. But we sort of moved in out of the golden age into the silver age, sort of crazier stories that were more in line with the desperation of the sort of comic book industry, where it's like everyone, let's go to space and aliens and Batman, giant zebra Batman and rainbow Batman, just nuts stories. 60s again, we'll talk about the Batman 60s show later on, but that had a knock-on effect to the comics because they're obviously going to do what's popular. 70s is where it started to pick up, man, and this is where I go back to this stuff, man. So I just want to give a shout out to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams for their run on Batman. It's the classic blue Batman, cape and cowl, man. Take a look at our logo, man. We've got some serious influence from that era of comics, so just absolutely love it. And then of course you got the 80s rebranding. Everything in the 80s is dark, and 1984.
Black.
Yeah, exactly. 1984, man. The governments are out to get you. Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns bursts onto the scene, and then that influenced massively what was to come in the 90s and the comic book boom and subsequent drop, and then boom again now with the big movies and industries like that. But I want to ask, what are your favourite Batman comic books, Steve?
Me again.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going back to Death in the Family. So this is something that I picked up way back in the day in Waterstones. I must have been about sort of 10 or 11 at the time.
Whoa, a lot of blood in that for a teen.
This is when, like I said, I've mentioned before that I was into Spawn and things like that, so I was into all the morbid sort of stuff. I think this is the first proper sort of graphic novel featuring a mainstream superhero that I'd actually looked at. That wasn't sort of because I was already sort of fresh from watching the 60s Batman TV series and stuff like that. So it's like they never get up into any real peril or anything like that. It's just sort of Mr. Freeze's sort of weird warming freezing thing in a room and stuff. That's about as perilous as it got.
Yeah.
But then Death in the Family sort of. It was a very sort of big mind blow for me, sort of seeing someone so close to Batman, sort of his right hand man essentially, just getting killed off.
Yeah, blown to pieces.
Almost quite literally. And that sort of got me really into sort of the whole sort of darkness potentially for a comic book hero. They're not always going to be sort of this shiny sort of happy-go-lucky sort of he saves the day.
Definitely, man. That was 80s as well, wasn't it? Late 80s. Yeah. And it was sort of that movement, wasn't it? It was sort of like comics are getting a bit more serious now. We're sort of out of this. It's interesting you mentioned the 60s because, of course, that shaped a lot of it. Mm-hmm. Batman at the time still rocking the blue costume with the yellow logo around his insignia. And it's poignant you mentioned the 60s shows again because they always ended on a cliffhanger, didn't they? Those shows. So it was, Batman or Robin or the two of them together on a slow burn head into death.
They have the two parts, don't they? So there was that cliffhanger halfway through.
Yeah.
Then they somehow managed to get out of it, sort of sort of Batfink sort of style. And then it's always, I just remember sort of at the end, sort of, we're always back at the same bad day, the same bad channel.
Oh, brilliant. But you can imagine Death in the Family. Opening of the second episode, boom! Old chum, just like literally Robin is dead, and that's the end of this series. Batman's gonna go and punch the mustache off the Joker, sort of thing. So very cool, man. That's a nice pick. What about you, Sam?
Killing Joke, all the way, man. Written by Alan Moore, even though he likes to deny it. Art by Brian.
He denies everything.
He does, I understand it. But the reason mine is because I never really used to read graphic novels at all. And then you and I went to see The Dark Knight, and I was just fascinated by that point on more and more about how deep Batman and the Joker went.
Yeah.
And then you just gave me, I don't know if you'd bought it another version of it when we went to see it in the IMAX. I don't know if, or when we got home, I can't remember, but you basically gave me it and just said, just go in that room and read it. And it was just incredible, reading that story and then having an origin for the character, which you told me never, and I came out of it and asked you, so is that his definite thing? And that's where I started to understand things like how you can have separate stories. But just in terms of and then it turned me on to a lot of what we're going to talk about later as well. But it's just an incredible graphic novel. If you guys haven't read it, even if you don't like Batman, just go and read that graphic novel because it's just incredible. Yeah,
it works as a standalone story, and I think that's the benefit of it. It kind of distills. We talked about it in our Killing Joke review, guys. The actual movie adaptation of it was recently came out. Sort of a mixed response because, to be honest, the graphic novel, as revered as it is, it does have a bit of a mixed sort of reaction as well. I like it. Not my favourite, but I can understand why a lot of people are. The artwork alone, actually, as good as sort of Alan Moore is, the artwork is just fantastic in that book. It's unbelievable. But that's a big sort of summary of decades of history between those two iconic characters and how it all maybe comes to an end, which I love those sorts of stories. For me, I can't. It's just honestly like picking children because everything they're great for different reasons, and I love each of them equally for those different reasons. But Long Halloween is something I always find myself coming back to. Jeff Loeb, I'm a big fan of his work. The art of Tim Sale as well. I love how it taps into the mob sort of arena of Batman and how he tackles organised crime, but then how it escalates and things go absolutely crazy because of his presence, and people like Two-Face coming out of the works, the Joker's there, and his rogues gallery that are just sort of a step above, and he just draws Batman like how I'd want to see him in a film. I know we had sort of the sort of lurking sort of hunch that was Ben Affleck in Batman vs Superman. I know that's sort of satisfied, but I like Batman where you can't make out, like, how does this guy even work?
Yeah.
Like, he's just a cape at some points, and then all of a sudden there's this raw physique which just destroys crime and just obliterates, and then it's gone in the blink of an eye. They need to capture that for me, Ben Affleck. You know, if you can do that in the next one, that'd be awesome. You're halfway there; it's pretty good. But yeah, Long Halloween, dude. Definitely honourable mentions, guys. We've got a few that we want to give shout outs to as well. Hush, I know Steve, you're a big fan of that one as well.
Yeah, that got me. That really got me interested in sort of into the actual character of the of Batman and what makes him tick and what keeps him going, and obviously the fact that it pushes him to the edge of reason, sort of thing. It also has it's the perfect blend of sort of cheesiness as well. Like, I remember right at the beginning, sort of, you know, just him managing to, he's essentially paralysed and everything like that, and he manages to communicate with Alfred through Morse code.
That's when his zip line gets clicked, doesn't it? But then he gets worked on by Tom Elliott, who is the spoilers won't tell you here, dudes, man. But that is crazy. Sam, you like Hush as well, man?
I like Year One as well. Year One's a good comic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Frank Miller. Okay, we should actually give some props to this guy because we're omitting the big ones, aren't we? Year One and The Dark Knight Returns. Can you just? Sorry, man. It's just the audio is going to skip.
Mm-hmm. There
we go. Okay, but we have to give big props to the big man, Mr. Frank Miller. The Dark Knight Returns. Batman Year One. This dude just burst onto the scene and blew it to smithereens. He's like, forget about it. You know, let me take you down a trip with Batman you've never been on before. Let's take away all the gadgets. Let's take away all the crazy sidekick stuff like that. And let's just get down to one man against crime, injustice, man. Serious stuff. It's nuts. It's nuts, man. What are your thoughts on Batman Year One, The Dark Knight Returns? How do they sit with you? Because of course we weren't alive. You were like born when The Dark Knight Returns came out. So I mean, you know, I think if you talk to the previous generation of comic book fans that are sort of coming now directing all these superhero movies, that is their Bible, isn't it? The Dark Knight Returns. For us, it's kind of like Old Testament. Do you know what I mean? We have to revere it in a certain, but it stands the test of time. You know. So does it play that way for you, dude? Does it sort of the youngest person?
I just love the shocking moments in it. That's what I love. Just like how gritty that graphic novel is. Like what happens with the Joker is just like how it's just like snap done, and just how like Bruce Wayne is just so much older and he's kind of gives up on his ideals because he realizes there's a greater good behind it to a certain extent. That's what I like about it. And Year One is like a bare bones Batman, like the really good bit where like there are politicians and people from the mafia and like organised crime just in one room, and he just turns all the lights out and he's outside just playing with like the electric lines. That's why I like about the bare bones bit of that, and the stuff going on with Gordon as well, because it is a lot more of like Gordon. The
low tech, isn't it? That's what we want. I mean, to be honest, like we mentioned the Telltale game that's coming out recently. That's kind of taking a Year One approach with it, but they're adding all the gadgets as well, and I don't mind that. To be honest, cool. You know, but as I say, I like a bit of mystery around Batman. Hide all that tech underneath the big cape and sort of keep the mystery about why he's doing it. I don't when he's as exposed and you see like how he does everything. It's cool, but I prefer him as sort of a myth, a legend. How does he do these things? Even Superman's not quite sure, and that guy can hear and see everything. So, very cool, man. Big props to the big guns. Some quick shouts to Ego by Darwin Cook. And again, I've got to give another shout out to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams' run. If you haven't read Daughter of the Demon, and also not by the same team, but later on, Son of the Demon. Oh my God, Ra's al Ghul and Batman. You know, if it's not the Joker and Batman, it's Ra's al Ghul and Batman for me. Those are the two big villains for that guy. And whenever those two square off, man, like that epic sword fight. They had a moment like that in Hush as well, where Batman goes to see Ra's al Ghul, and the tops come off, and it's time to sword fight. And it's just, I love it because it's a harken back to, you take Batman sort of out of the city, and it's back to like those pulpy adventure stories that inspired him. Yeah. And it's just like that wouldn't look out of place in a Zorro movie, you know. And it's a real like full circle. I just absolutely love it. It's so cool, man. But yeah, those are the comics, guys. Oh, let me just grab some shout outs from the dudes in terms of their favourite comments as well. While I just grab this up, dudes, have you got like a favourite Batman artist? Anyone like sort of that you gravitate towards?
It's always been Jim Lee.
Mine's Jim Lee as well.
Yeah. So just when throughout Hush and everything like that, just the style there was just absolutely on point.
Yeah.
It's from the dark, the classic sort of looking sort of bat suit and everything like that.
I've got a picture of it here. Oh man, oh dude.
Yeah, that's it.
Chapter 1, The Ransom. It's just this epic shot of Jim Lee Batman hulking round a corner, just ready to save some lives and punish people who are responsible. Man, it's
funny.
so good.
It's funny when you're sort of looking into the Hush story and how I was actually drawing sort of comparisons to him and Wolverine in many ways about sort of the whole deep down Superman's a good guy sort of thing, and deep down I'm not.
So many good lines. So many good lines. Sam, you're Jim Lee as well. I just want to give a quick shout out to an artist who's actually no longer with us, Michael Turner. We've actually got one of his statues on the desk here. Dude didn't really sort of have an extended run on Batman, but he did a lot of Batman and Superman, the title work, The Dawn of the Supergirl. And just the way he drew Batman, I wish we could see more of that, because it was such a... I'm one for the long ears, man. I really like it when he has the long ears in the comics, for sure. And just the way he drew him, it was unbelievable.
Who drew the animated series Batman?
It was Bruce Timm.
Did Bruce Timm draw it as well?
He came up with the designs for that show. So, awesome stuff, man. Bruce Timm, big shout out. Oh, so many good Batman artists, man. Darwin Cook as well. This is from @soup61938k. His favourite Batman comic is Hush, and that is awesome. He also gives some other great ones to him. Court of the Owls. Totally agree. That's probably one of the best recent Batman stories. Incorporated and Neil Adams run. Boom. Yeah, man. Those you can get all those Neil Adams sort of Batman stories in hardback covers now. There's a couple of volumes, and they're definitely well worth picking up. He's recolored them himself, so they are not exactly as you got them back in the old days. But it's so good, man. It's so good. @ComicFan9400, Batman Year One, dude. That's awesome. Let's have a look. @ParleyPod. This dude's wow Tuffy. I'll take Detective Comics. It's very specific. Let me just by Alan Grant. This is issue 604, The Mud Pack. This is just the first comic he picked up, and I suppose that's going to stick with you, isn't it? And it's called Clayface. It's a Clayface story as well. So it's like, oh man, nice one. That's cool, dude. Dark Knight Returns. That's from @Mocha616. Thanks for getting in touch again, dude. Miller's story really pays off in the end. Shows how much Batman cares for / believes in humanity. That's a good point as well, because as much as that is about 80s overpowering governments with the talking head TVs and all that, at the end of it, he fake dies so he can carry on working in the shadows, and he spares Superman as well, so what a humble dude, man. @Family Patriarch, thanks for getting in touch, man. Dark Knight Returns again, completely recaptured the interest in the character, and I think that for a lot of people at the time, that was the Returns movie. Then
Save
89
Batman,
came out. Yeah, it's like, because before that it just wasn't. Jim Bob, he gets in touch. Hard to choose one, but I go back to this story at least once a year. That's Batman Venom. That's by Dennis O'Neil as well, man. That dude is basically like sort of pre-Bane. Batman uses Venom because he can't save a girl, and he basically gets addicted to it. So check it out, dudes. It's so good, man. Oh man. Yeah, that's about it from the guys. But thanks for getting in touch, dudes. This is awesome.